Hi, my name's Devin, and today I'm going to talk about all of the books that I read in 2024. This is kind of a late video considering it is March of 2024, but I would be lying if I didn't say that I had a rough start and I needed a few minutes to get myself together, and luckily I am halfway together, I suppose. Anyways, let's dive in. I did a lot of reading for class considering I am an English major. I've said this a few times on my channel. If you're new here, I am an English major with a creative writing concentration, and I aspire to be an author someday, published. I am an author. I have to take possession of that title. I am an author and soon to be published, even though I've been writing the same book for the last 10 years, maybe, or more, possibly. One of my all-time favorites from this year has got to be, yes, Zora Neale Hurston. This is Their Eyes Were Watching God. This book was so refreshing to read, and honestly it had me giggling, kicking my feet. And mind you, most of the books that I read I have to listen to audiobooks, especially if they are academic reading, just because I struggle to get through books very quickly. Even though I do a ton of reading every single week, I need the audiobook. It just helps me get through it. But yeah, this book was phenomenal. It was definitely one of my favorites. I don't think I've read one quite like it, and it just really gave me like a heartwarming feeling. Zora Neale Hurston is a really talented writer, and I want to read more of her stuff after reading this one, definitely. That was probably my 10 out of 10 read of the year. Mind you, all of these are academic style books mostly. So next up is As I Lay Dying. Why did I say lie? As I Lay Dying. This is by William Faulkner. I got the second Norton Critical Edition just because, like I said, this is the books that I've been reading for class. This book was, quite frankly, annoying. Very annoying for me. I didn't really like it much. I don't like the style of this book. And obviously there's certain dialects and things like that, you know, that contribute to the general theme of the story. But it was probably one of my least favorites this year or last year. I don't want to say struggled, but I guess, yeah, maybe struggled. Listening to an audiobook with a million different characters is kind of crazy. I'll say that. It says a lot about death and people's processing of that and how it impacts people differently. But overall, not my favorite read. Next up, we have Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. I'm actually going to be tasked with reading this one again for another English class that I'm in right now. I did enjoy Northanger Abbey. It was definitely a compelling read. Really focuses on a lot of issues that women endured and a lot of things that were socially acceptable. This one dives into a lot of different topics: love, society, individual perception, a lot of things. The novel is definitely ironic and it's a bit funny. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Next up, this is one of my favorite books of all time. I love it, and every time that I read it, it just brings me so much joy. Unfortunately, I did see Nosferatu and it did disappoint me considering I love this book so much. But this is Dracula by Bram Stoker. This is one of my absolute favorite books, as you can tell with all the annotations. I've analyzed this book quite a bit. It's so nice. I love it, and I feel like I haven't seen a film capture the magic of this book as well as when I first read it. You know what I mean? Like, that book was groundbreaking for me, groundbreaking literature, and I was like, wow, is this what I've been missing this entire time? It turns out I was missing everything. My last semester was full of Dostoevsky and big books, I'll say that. But of the two that I had to read, Crime and Punishment had to be my absolute favorite. This book was really compelling. I feel like that's just the best word for it, even though I've used that word a few times in this video already. It explores social criticism, social environmental influences. It also touches on forgiveness and if people are truly redeemable no matter what they do. Yeah, this novel is really complex and I really enjoyed analyzing this one. I feel like I would definitely read this one again just so I could, go back and try to get more from it. It's just so thick. You know what I mean? Like, this book is really, really long. In a few places I did feel like it could have been shortened, or even, some things could have been left out. It was a lot. Dostoevsky gives you a lot, but this one was definitely my favorite of the two that I read. Also, this was my first experience with Dostoevsky, so I didn't know what to expect going into it, but I was thoroughly pleased with the way that he writes and also the way he highlights certain themes in his stories. I thought that was really cool. Sorry, I'm trying not to spoil anything for you guys as well. So next up I have Fyodor Dostoevsky's The Idiots. This one was pretty good as well. I have a bit of religious trauma myself, so this one was not my absolute favorite, just considering Mishkin, Prince Mishkin, he kind of like takes on this like Christ-like figure or character archetype. So it was a bit tough for me to empathize with him at times. But like I said before, I do love the way that Dostoevsky writes his characters. He is really good at expanding on them and showing multiple layers of them. And Mishkin specifically is really rounded out, as well as the other characters in this novel. The Idiot is really, really good. Like I said before, Dostoevsky is really good, but he has a lot to say. So if you need some time to get through this, definitely take your time. There's a lot of meat in these books, but it is definitely worth it in the end. I was very pleased with my professor for choosing those novels for our course study. Next up, I have Anna Karenina. This is by Leo Tolstoy. So this was another book in the same class as the other two from Dostoevsky. Anna Karenina really pissed me the hell off, if I'm being completely honest with you. This book was infuriating in more ways than one. Also good, a bit long at points, but not a bad novel. I don't know if I would jump into it again immediately. Like I said, it made me very angry, so I might need some time away from this one for sure. It also had a way, like a certain magic to it, the way that Tolstoy is able to communicate his characters. I think that one of the main things that I used to say in our discussion boards was that I don't know why Tolstoy named this book Anna Karenina. Genuinely, I feel like the focus on her throughout the novel is kind of waning. I don't know what the right word would be, but the attention on her kind of strays a bit and it focuses on a few other characters as well. So I felt like it doesn't do the book justice to name it Anna Karenina. I feel like if he would have named it something different and like shifted that focus a little bit more, it would have felt more natural for me. Given it doesn't happen like that, I was a little underwhelmed with this one. Also, the ending felt kind of like a dud for me. I was not satisfied with the ending. It felt kind of like cheap in a way. Next up, I talked about this book in my 2024 reading list, which I definitely did not read most of those books on that list, unfortunately. They are in my library. I'm looking at them currently right now. They're stacked against my wall because I do not own any bookcases at this moment, but I have a terrible habit of buying books and not reading them immediately. So I said that in my 2024 reading list video as well. So that's still true to this day in 2025. But anyways, this is Jay Gatsby, A Black Man in Whiteface by Janet Savage. This book was honestly like more so like essays and like evidence to support her theory about this. And honestly, I enjoyed the read. It was kind of a quick read, so nothing too challenging or anything like that. But I wish that we could get a little bit more on that subject because I felt like it was a really, really cool topic and definitely under talked about or underdeveloped, just considering, you won't really find many scholarly articles on this topic yet. And I found it from a TikTok video. So hopefully in the future it will gain a little bit more traction and people will start to talk about it a little bit more so we can get a little bit more scholarly reviews and scholarly articles about this topic. I would love that. I didn't put this on my Notion list, but last year I read Stephen King's Carrie. This was honestly a pleasant surprise for me because I had a bad experience with Stephen King and I haven't read a Stephen King novel since then. This novel was not very drawn out. The descriptions were not extra long, and honestly the story was pretty short, to be honest. So I really enjoyed that he respected my time. And I also really enjoyed just the story of Carrie because I've seen the movies hundreds of times, and I knew that it was a book, but I never read the book. So I was pleased to see how those movies and things came about and the material that they're pulling from. So it was a good read, really good, really fun read. So I feel like I read this book literally every semester, at least once a year, just because all of my classes deal with it. That is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I have the 1818 text. This one is, like I said, one of my all-time favorites because I love the creature and I love Frankenstein because Frankenstein is such a jerk. He really is. And the creature has my heart, always has and always will. But in general, that book is also another literary vital piece in me developing into the woman that I am today. I love the spooky stuff. It just gives Halloween core, and it's one of my favorites and will always be one of my favorites. Just that and Dracula, just add them to the list. Now let's dive into the ones that I have on my Notion list that I don't have here physically with me. All right, so in February, I read a book called The Lightbringer by Janie Marie. She is so sweet, mind you. I've commented back and forth with her a little bit on Instagram a few times, but she wrote the series Gods and Monsters. Really, really good. I've loved it since my Wattpad days. The girlies that know, you know, one of my all-time favorites. It took me a while to get through her series just because I don't like finishing things, especially series. If it's a show, if it's a movie, I struggle with that because I don't want the world that people built to end. So it took me a minute to finish that one. I literally discovered her like 14, 15, and I didn't finish till 2024. And that's, I believe, the last book. I gave The Lightbringer 4 stars out of 5. I said, really great series overall. I enjoyed the lore and the mythological ties with a modern twist. To think that we started with the zombie apocalypse in Texas to meeting God Almighty and being a key player in bringing about the end of the time. Dialogue is a little unrealistic at times, but I love the banter between the knights and other beloved characters. The Lightbringer was a really interesting reverse harem dive, and despite the overplayed tropes at times, I really resonated with Jane's character and the ways that I would like to create my own character. Jane is the true definition of a tragic hero that battles to the end, never entirely getting what she deserves, but facing it anyways. The ending felt rushed but forgiven, considering series are quite hard to complete. I look forward to reading more by Janie. So I really loved Janie. Like I said, I have that deep loyalty for her already, just given where she came from, and you know, knowing that I started out on the same platform and seeing how far she was able to make it was very inspiring for me. But overall, I did really enjoy her book, and she's really, really talented, and I really enjoyed it. Another one I read was Death's Obsession. That one was in February 12th, 2024. And that one is by the author Avina St. Graves. That book I gave a 3 stars. What did I say about it? I said not a bad read, fairly quick at only 174 pages. I expected more lore surrounding death and grandeur answers, but the focus was strictly on romance. Frankly, the time jumps were a little excessive at times, but the pacing wasn't bad at all. I feel like the story moved at a good rate. Overall, I give it 3 stars because I feel like the book can honestly be reduced to a short story. It was a fun read, but at times felt like a glorified smut piece with no other objective. The shadow thing was also just a bit far-fetched for me and made my face turn into a hard line. With this supernatural element introduced, I was hoping for more at least. So I do remember that this book was a bit mature, and it was like monster romance or monster smut. I don't really know what the term is for that, but I'm like dipping a toe into dark romance, and she's spitting me out. She's spitting me out, girl. So next up, since we're exposing myself for being a Wattpad girly, still to this day at 25 years old, and I do not care. Okay, say what you want, argue with your mother. Next up is Do Not Laugh at Me. It's called Comfort Zone, and it's a Connor X reader. You know how like some character X readers, they just hit, you know? This is one that just hits. I don't know what it is about this book, but she ate. So I read this one on Wattpad and I give it 4 stars. It's by Hammer of Rage and I read it on February 29th, 2024. I said some of the strongest writing I've encountered on Wattpad. I hope she sees this. I'm tagging her. Very well written, good level of slow burn, and well paced. At no point was I bored with the book. Didn't overdo the smut like a lot of others tend to. That's like the perfect review. Honestly, I'm giving that a 5 stars because she ate. And one thing I am currently struggling with is enjoying a smutty book. Like, I am struggling, you guys. I think I'm getting burnt out and I don't know how to feel about that. Okay, next up, on March 11th, 2024, I finished Pretty Boys Are Poisonous by Megan Fox. I gave this one a 4 stars out of 5, and I said that Megan had really good pieces. The book definitely gives a new perspective into the mind of Megan Fox. I really resonated with a lot of the poems in here, and I loved the art style. It was a really impactful read, plain at times, but clearly very intimate from the writer. I appreciate the vulnerability and layers to them. So I really did enjoy Megan's Pretty Boys Are Poisonous. It was very interesting to see that new side of her and a much more vulnerable side of her. Speaking of, I don't know, I felt very intrigued by her lately and I really wanted to support and read this book because I know a lot of people underestimate her and see her as just a pretty face, but I felt like she had something good to say and she definitely did. She shared a lot with us and that has got to be difficult, especially when you're in the public eye so often and like genuinely like so criticized and so critiqued on every little thing that you do. It's got to be insanely exhausting. And I was like, what better way to deal with that than poetry? I would do the same thing, girl. So I loved it. Next up, I had, okay, so the last one that I'm going to talk about today is The Walking Dead Volume 1. I read it again. This is like my 3rd time reading it. It's by Robert Kirkman and I gave it 5 stars. I finished it on December 1st, 2024. I think that was just a general date because I wasn't positive what day I finished it, but it was definitely in December. I love the Walking Dead universe in general. I've had Volume 1 for years now because I want to collect all of the Walking Dead comics, but I love Walking Dead Volume 1. It's so good. I definitely recommend it. If you want to read it, definitely read it. So yeah, I think we're gonna end this video on that note. Thank you guys so much for following along with me on this video as I recounted the things that I read in 2024. If you'd like to see my current 2025 reading list, please let me know down in the comments down below. Leave a like and don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell to just stay notified of any time that I post a video. I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.